Marcus Sterling sat in his huge office on the top floor of his building. The city lights sparkled below him like tiny stars. It was almost midnight, and most people were sleeping. But Marcus was still working. He always worked late. Work was his life. At 52 years old, Marcus was one of the richest men in the world. He owned technology companies, hotels, and banks. People called him a genius. Others called him cold and heartless. Marcus didn't care what people said. He had money, power, and everything he wanted. Well, almost everything. The truth was, Marcus was alone. He had never married. He had no children. He lived by himself in a big empty house. Sometimes, late at night like this, he felt the loneliness creep in. But he pushed those feelings away. Feelings made people weak, and Marcus Sterling was never weak. His special phone sat on his desk. This phone was different from his other phones. Only 5 people in the whole world had this number: his lawyer, his doctor, his security chief, and 2 business partners. That was it, nobody else. And these 5 people knew never to call this phone unless someone was dying. Marcus picked up his glass of expensive whiskey and took a sip. The liquid burned his throat in a good way. He was reading reports about his latest business deal when the phone rang. The sound cut through the quiet office like a knife. Marcus looked at the phone. The screen said, "Unknown number." That was impossible. This phone had special security. Unknown numbers couldn't call it. Someone would have to be very smart with computers to break through his security system. Marcus stared at the phone for 3 more rings. Should he answer it? Maybe it was a mistake. Maybe someone had the wrong number. But something deep inside his chest told him to pick up the phone. His hand reached out slowly. "Hello," Marcus said in his cold business voice. What he heard next made his whole world stop. "Dad?" came a young girl's voice. She sounded scared and tired. "Dad, please come get me." Marcus felt like someone had punched him in the stomach. His hand holding the phone started to shake. "I'm sorry, you have the wrong number," he said, but his voice came out weak and strange. "No, Dad, it's me," the girl said, and now she was crying. "I'm scared and I don't know where I am. There are bad men here and they said they're going to hurt me if you don't come. Please, Daddy, I need you." The whiskey glass slipped from Marcus's other hand. It crashed to the floor and broke into 100 pieces. The expensive whiskey spread across the white marble like golden blood. But Marcus didn't notice. He was frozen, listening to this impossible voice. I don't have a daughter," Marcus whispered into the phone. But even as he said it, something about the girl's voice made his heart race. It sounded familiar, very familiar. "Dad, I know you're confused," the girl said, her words coming faster now. "They told me you might not remember at first. They gave me something that makes my head feel fuzzy too. But I remember you. I remember your voice when you used to read me stories. I remember how you always smelled like coffee and that cologne." "You wear?" Marcus's blood turned to ice. He did smell like coffee and cologne. He had worn the same cologne for 20 years. But how could this girl know that? He had never had children. He had never even been married. "Where are you?" Marcus heard himself ask. His business brain was telling him this was some kind of trick. Maybe someone was trying to steal his money. Rich people got fake calls like this all the time, but his heart was telling him something different. This felt real. "I don't know where I am," the girl said, and her voice got smaller and more frightened. "It's dark outside. I can see mountains through a small window. There's a big building with lots of rooms. The men here wear white coats like doctors, but they're not nice doctors. They hurt people." Marcus stood up so fast his chair fell backward. "What's your name?" he asked. "They call me Subject 47, the girl said, and Marcus could hear her starting to cry again. "But I remember my real name. Sometimes I remember it in dreams. I think it starts with an H. Hope? Yes. Hope. My name is Hope." "Hope," Marcus repeated. The name felt strange in his mouth, but also somehow right. Dad, they're coming back, Hope said, her voice getting more scared. I hid this phone, but they'll find me soon. I heard them talking. They said if you don't come, they'll do more tests on me. Bad tests. I don't want the tests anymore. They make me forget things. Marcus's heart was beating so hard he thought it might explode. Hope, listen to me, he said, trying to keep his voice calm. I'm going to find you. I'm going to bring people to help, but I need you to tell me anything else you can remember about where you are. There's an old tree outside my window, Hope said quickly. A big tree with marks carved in it. 2 letters inside a heart shape. I dream about that tree sometimes. In my dreams, you're standing under it with a pretty lady with long brown hair. You both look happy. Marcus felt the world spin around him. His legs gave out and he fell back into his chair. The tree. She was talking about the old oak tree where he had carved his initials 23 years ago. The tree where he had carved MS plus SM inside a heart. The tree where he had asked Sarah Mitchell to marry him. But Sarah was dead. She had died 23 years ago. Her car had crashed into a lake, and her body was never found. The police said she had drowned. Marcus had grieved for years, and they had never had children together. Dad, are you still there? Hope's voice brought Marcus back to the present. Yes, I'm here, Marcus said, his voice shaking. I remember the stories you told me about being brave, Hope said. About how heroes always save the people they love. I'm trying to be brave like you taught me, but I'm so scared. Please come find me, Dad. Please don't let them hurt me anymore. The phone line made a crackling sound. Then Hope's voice came through one more time. Barely a whisper. I love you, Daddy. The line went dead. Marcus stared at the phone in his hand. His whole body was shaking now. This was impossible. This couldn't be real. But the girl had known about the tree. She had known about Sarah's brown hair. She had known things that nobody else in the world could know. Marcus pressed a button on his desk. Within seconds, his head of security was calling him back. James, Marcus said when the man answered. I need you here now. Emergency. On my way, sir, James replied without asking questions. Marcus stood up and walked to his big window. The city looked the same as always, but everything had changed. Somewhere out there, a girl who called him Dad was in danger. A girl who might be impossible, but who knew his deepest secrets. Marcus Sterling had built an empire by being logical and careful. But logic couldn't explain what had just happened. All he knew was that he had to find Hope, no matter what it cost him. The hunt was about to begin. 20 minutes later, James Morrison rushed into Marcus's office. He was a big man with gray hair and smart eyes. James had been Marcus's head of security for 15 years. He had seen Marcus through good times and bad times, but he had never seen his boss look like this. Marcus was standing by the window staring out at the city. His hands were shaking. Broken glass covered the floor around his desk. The smell of expensive whiskey filled the air. James knew something terrible had happened. Sir, what's wrong? James asked. He closed the door behind him and walked carefully. Around the broken glass, Marcus didn't turn around. James, in all the years you've worked for me, have I ever lied to you? No, sir. You've always been honest with me. Good, because what I'm about to tell you will sound crazy, but every word is true. Marcus turned around. His face was pale and his eyes looked haunted. James had seen that look before, but only in soldiers who had seen too much war. Someone called me tonight, Marcus said. A young girl, she called me Dad. James frowned. Sir, you don't have any children. We've talked about this before. You've never been married. I know, Marcus said. That's what makes this so impossible. But James, she knew things, secret things, things that nobody else could know. Marcus walked to his desk and pressed a button. The phone call started playing from hidden speakers. James listened to every word. His face got more serious as the recording went on. When it finished, James was quiet for a long time. Finally, he spoke. Sir, this could be a trick. Rich people get calls like this all the time. Someone wants money. That's what I thought at first, Marcus said. But then she mentioned the tree. The oak tree with the carved initials. James had worked for Marcus for 15 years, but he didn't know about any tree. What tree, sir? Marcus sat down heavily in his chair. He looked like he had aged 10 years in one night. James, I'm going to tell you something I've never told anyone. Not my lawyers, not my doctors, not even you. James sat down across from Marcus. He could see this was important. 23 years ago, I was a different man, Marcus began. I was young and in love. Her name was Sarah Mitchell. She was beautiful and smart and kind. She was studying to be a doctor. Marcus's voice got soft when he talked about Sarah. James had never heard his boss talk about any woman this way. We were going to get married, Marcus continued. I had already bought the ring. We used to go to this place in the mountains for weekends. There was an old oak tree by a lake. I carved our initials there, MS plus SM inside a heart. What happened to her? James asked gently. Marcus's face got dark. She disappeared. One night she just vanished. The police found her car in the lake the next morning. They said she had crashed and drowned. But they never found her body. James leaned forward. You don't think she drowned? No, Marcus said firmly. Sarah was an excellent swimmer, and something else happened that night, something the police never knew about. Marcus stood up and started pacing. This was hard for him to talk about. The night before Sarah disappeared, she called me. She was scared and crying. She said she had discovered something terrible at the hospital where she worked, something about illegal experiments and missing patients. James felt a chill run down his spine. What kind of experiments? I don't know. She wouldn't tell me over the phone. She said it was too dangerous, but she was going to meet with a newspaper reporter the next day. She wanted to expose everything. And then she disappeared, James said. Yes. I begged her not to go to the police or the newspapers. I told her to wait, to let my lawyers handle it. But Sarah was stubborn. She wanted to do the right thing. She said people were getting hurt and she couldn't stay quiet. Marcus stopped pacing and looked directly at James. That was the last time I ever heard her voice, until tonight. Sir, what are you saying? The girl on the phone. Hope. Her voice sounded exactly like Sarah's, and she knew about the tree. She knew about Sarah's brown hair. She knew things that only Sarah and I ever knew. James was quiet for a moment, thinking. Sir, even if Sarah didn't die that night, even if she was taken by whoever was doing these experiments, that was 23 years ago. How could you have a daughter? Marcus had been thinking about the same thing. I don't know, James, but I have to find out. That girl is in danger. Whether she's my daughter or not, she needs help. James nodded. What do you want me to do? I need you to trace that phone call, find out where it came from, and I need you to dig up everything you can about Sarah's disappearance. Talk to the police who worked the case, find the reporter she was supposed to meet with, find out what she discovered at that hospital. Yes, sir. Anything else? Marcus thought for a moment. There's one more thing. The girl mentioned mountains and a building that looked like a hospital. Start looking for places like that within 500 miles of where Sarah disappeared. James stood up. I'll get the team working on it right away. But sir, if this is connected to Sarah's disappearance, the people involved have stayed hidden for over 20 years. They're dangerous. I know, Marcus said. But I have to find her, James. I have to find Hope. As James reached the door, Marcus called out to him. James, wait. There's something else. James turned around. After Sarah disappeared, I changed. I became cold and focused only on business. I told myself it was because I was heartbroken. But the truth is, I was scared. Scared that whoever took Sarah might come for me, too. Is that why you never got married? Never had children? Marcus nodded. I convinced myself that I was better off alone, that caring about people made you weak. But tonight, when I heard Hope's voice, when I heard how scared she was, James, I felt something I haven't felt in 23 years. What's that, sir? I felt like I had something worth fighting for again. James smiled for the first time since he had arrived. Then we'll find her, sir, whatever it takes. After James left, Marcus stood alone in his office. The broken glass still covered the floor, but he didn't clean it up. He walked back to the window and looked out at the city. Somewhere out there, hope was waiting for him. Somewhere out there, the truth about Sarah's disappearance was waiting to be discovered. Marcus Sterling had spent 23 years building walls around his heart. But tonight, a scared girl's voice had broken through those walls. Marcus picked up his phone and called his pilot. "Get the jet ready," he said. "We're going to Colorado." The hunt for Hope was about to begin, and Marcus would not stop until he found her. Within 2 hours, Marcus's private jet was flying through the dark sky toward Colorado. James sat across from him with a laptop, working fast to trace the phone call. Marcus couldn't sit still. He kept looking out the window, wondering if Hope was still alive. "I found something," James said suddenly. His fingers moved quickly across the keyboard. The phone call was routed through 12 different servers around the world. Someone was trying very hard to hide where it came from. "But you found it?" Marcus asked. "Yes. The original signal came from somewhere in the Rocky Mountains, about 300 miles from where Sarah's car was found all those years ago." Marcus felt his heart beat faster. "That can't be a coincidence." "No, sir, it can't be." James pulled up a map on his screen. "I've been looking at satellite images of that area. There are several abandoned buildings, old mining facilities, government, research stations that were closed down years ago. Perfect places to hide people." The plane flew through the night while James and his team worked. They had computers, cameras, and tracking equipment. Marcus had spared no expense. Money could buy many things, and right now he needed every advantage he could get. "Sir, I found something else," James said after another hour. "I tracked down Detective Rodriguez. He was one of the cops who worked Sarah's case 23 years ago." "Is he still alive?" "Yes. He's retired now, but he agreed to meet with us. He said something strange about Sarah's case, something that bothered him for years." Marcus leaned forward. "What?" "He said Sarah's car crash never made sense. The car went into the lake, but there were no skid marks on the road, no signs that she tried to stop or turn. It was like someone placed the car there." "You mean like someone wanted it to look like an accident?" "Exactly. And there's more. Rodriguez said they found strange marks on the car, scratches that looked like they came from medical equipment. But his boss told him to close the case and not ask questions." Marcus felt anger burning in his chest. "Someone covered it up." "It looks that way, sir. The plane landed at a small airport in Colorado as the sun was coming up. Marcus had brought 6 of his best security men. They were all ex-military, tough and smart. If Hope was in these mountains, they would find her. Detective Rodriguez met them at a diner near the airport. He was an old man now with gray hair and tired eyes. But when he saw Marcus, he shook his head sadly. "You look just like her," Rodriguez said. "Sarah. She had the same eyes you do. Determined eyes." "Tell me what really happened," Marcus said. Rodriguez looked around the empty diner, then leaned closer. "I've been waiting 23 years for someone to ask me that question. The night Sarah disappeared, we got a call about her car in the lake. But I was already working that night. I was investigating reports of strange lights and helicopters in the mountains." "Helicopters?" "Big black ones. Military style. Local people said they'd been seeing them for months, flying to and from some old government facility up in the mountains. When I tried to investigate, my boss shut me down. Said it was classified." James showed Rodriguez the satellite images on his laptop. "Is this the facility?" Rodriguez looked at the screen and nodded. "That's it. Place called Mountain View Research Station. Officially, it was closed in the 1980s, but I always suspected someone was still using it." "What kind of research did they do there?" Marcus asked. "Medical research. Government contracts. The kind of stuff they don't like to talk about." Rodriguez finished his coffee and looked directly at Marcus. "Son, if Sarah stumbled onto something involving that place, it would explain why she disappeared, and why her case was buried so fast." After Rodriguez left, Marcus and his team drove up into the mountains. The roads were rough and winding. Pine Trees covered the steep slopes like a green blanket. It was beautiful country, but Marcus couldn't enjoy it. All he could think about was hope. "There," James said, pointing ahead. "I can see the facility." The building sat in a valley between two peaks. From the outside, they looked abandoned, old concrete walls covered with rust and decay. But as they got closer, Marcus noticed things that didn't fit. New satellite dishes on the roofs, fresh tire tracks in the dirt, power lines that looked recently repaired. "This place isn't abandoned," Marcus said. "No, sir. Someone's definitely using it." They parked their vehicles a mile away and approached on foot. James used binoculars to watch the buildings. After an hour, he saw what they were looking for. "Guards," James whispered. "At least 6 men with weapons. They're patrolling the perimeter." Marcus took the binoculars and looked for himself. The guards wore black uniforms and carried automatic weapons. These weren't security guards protecting an empty building. These were soldiers guarding something important. "Can you get us inside?" Marcus asked. "Maybe. But sir, if we go in there and hope isn't there, we'll blow our only chance. These people will disappear and we'll never find them again." Marcus knew James was right, but as he watched the facility through the binoculars, his phone buzzed, another call from the same unknown number. Marcus answered quickly. "Hope? Dad?" Her voice was weaker than before. She sounded sick. "Dad, I can see lights outside my window. Cars with bright headlights. Are you coming for me?" Marcus looked at the facility below. Their vehicles had headlights. "Hope, can you tell me what you see out your window?" "Mountains. And a big parking lot with white trucks. There's a tall fence with wire on top. And Dad, I can see men with guns walking around." Marcus's heart raced. She was describing exactly what he was looking at. "Hope, I'm here. I'm very close to you, but I need you to be brave a little longer." "They gave me medicine that makes me sleepy," Hope said. "And Dad, I'm starting to remember things. Strange things. I remember being in a room with other girls who looked like me. Is that normal?" Marcus felt ice in his veins. "Other girls who looked like her?" "What do you mean, Hope?" "I don't know. The memories are fuzzy, but I think there were others. The men in white coats called us by numbers, not names. I was number 47. But Dad, I also remember you reading me stories and tucking me into bed. Were those real memories or dreams?" The phone line started crackling again. "Dad, they're coming back. I have to hide the phone. Please hurry." "I'm scared and I don't think I have much time left." The line went dead. Marcus stared at the facility below. Hope was in there somewhere, and she was running out of time. But her words about other girls who looked like her scared him more than anything. What had these people been doing for 23 years? "James," Marcus said quietly, "we're going in tonight." "Sir, it's too dangerous." Marcus handed the binoculars back to James. "That little girl is counting on me, for the first time in 23 years. Someone needs me to be more than just a rich man. Tonight I'm going to be her father." As the sun set behind the mountains, Marcus Sterling prepared for the most important mission of his life. At midnight, Marcus and his team moved like shadows toward the facility. They had spent hours planning the attack. James knew how to break into buildings without being seen. His men were experts at staying hidden and fighting in the dark. Marcus wore black clothes and a bulletproof vest. His hands shook as he checked his gun. He had never been in a real fight before. He was a businessman, not a soldier. But tonight, he would do whatever it took to save Hope. "Remember," James whispered. "To the team, we go in quiet. Find the girl first, questions later." They cut through the fence behind the main building. The guards were lazy and didn't check this area often. Within minutes, the team was inside the facility grounds. Up close, the buildings looked much newer. Then they appeared from far away. Fresh paint covered old concrete walls. New windows had been installed in the old frames. Someone had spent a lot of money fixing this place up while making it look abandoned. James led them to a side door. He used special tools to unlock it without making noise. The door opened into a long hallway with bright white lights. The walls were clean and the floor was polished. This definitely wasn't an abandoned building. "Looks like a hospital," one of Marcus's men whispered. They moved down the hallway, checking each room. Most were empty, but some had strange equipment. Computers, medical machines, and devices Marcus didn't recognize. Everything was expensive and new. "Sir," James said quietly, "look at this." He was standing in front of a wall covered with photographs. Dozens of pictures showing young women who all looked almost exactly the same. They had the same face, the same hair, the same eyes. The only differences were small things like height or weight. Marcus stared at the photos. His blood turned cold. All the girls looked like Sarah. Exactly like Sarah when she was young. "What is this place?" Marcus whispered. Before James could answer, they heard footsteps coming down the hallway. The team quickly hid behind doors and equipment. Two men in white coats walked past, talking in low voices.
"Subject 47 is getting sicker," one man said. "Dr. Voss says we might have to terminate her soon." "That's too bad. She was one of the successful ones. Her memories were almost perfect. The genetic memories are getting stronger in all of them."
Some of the subjects are starting to remember things that happened before they were created. The men walked away, but Marcus had heard enough. Genetic memories? Created? These people weren't just holding Hope prisoner. They had made her somehow. James motioned for the team to follow him deeper into the facility. They found stairs leading down to a basement level. The air got colder as they went down. Strange sounds came from behind closed doors. Humming machines and beeping computers. At the bottom of the stairs, they found a heavy metal door with a security keypad. James worked on the lock while Marcus watched the hallway. After a few minutes, the door clicked open. What they saw inside made Marcus sick to his stomach. The room was huge, like an underground warehouse. Rows and rows of glass containers lined the walls. Each container was filled with blue liquid and connected to computers and machines. Most of the containers were empty, but some had people floating inside them. "My God," James whispered. Marcus walked closer to one of the containers. Inside was a young woman who looked exactly like Sarah. She was unconscious, connected to tubes and wires. A sign on the container read, "Subject 23, status stable." "They're cloning people," Marcus said, his voice shaking with anger and horror. "Not just cloning," James said. He was looking at a computer screen near the containers. "According to this, they're also implanting artificial memories. They're making copies of people and giving them fake histories." Marcus moved through the room, looking at container after container. All the women looked like Sarah. All were young and beautiful. All were prisoners in this nightmare laboratory. At the far end of the room, Marcus found what he was looking for, a smaller section with normal hospital beds instead of glass containers. In one of the beds lay a girl who looked about 20 years old. She had Sarah's face and Sarah's brown hair. "Hope," Marcus whispered. The girl opened her eyes slowly. When she saw Marcus, she smiled weakly. "Dad, you came for me." Marcus rushed to her side. "I'm here, sweetheart. I'm going to get you out of here." But as he got closer, he could see that Hope was very sick. Her skin was pale and her breathing was shallow. Tubes ran from her arms to machines that beeped softly. "Dad, I'm dying," Hope said simply. "The medicine they gave me is making me sick, but I'm not scared anymore because you're here." Marcus felt tears in his eyes. This girl, whether she was really his daughter or not, loved him completely. And she was dying because of monsters who played with human lives like toys. "We're going to get you help," Marcus said. "The best doctors in the world." "Dad, there's something I need to tell you," Hope said weakly. "I remember more now. I remember the woman they used to make me. She's here too." Marcus's heart stopped. "What?" "The woman with brown hair from my dreams. She's here in this place. They've kept her alive all these years. She's in the special room downstairs." Before Marcus could ask more questions, alarms started blaring throughout the facility. Red lights flashed on the walls. A voice came over the speaker system. "Mr. Sterling, we know you're here. This is Dr. Elena Voss, the director of this facility. You have something that belongs to us. James grabbed Marcus's arm. We need to go now, sir. They'll surround us. But Marcus wouldn't leave Hope. I'm not going without her. Mr. Sterling, the voice continued, what we're doing here represents the future of human evolution. We've learned to create perfect people with the memories and skills of the best humans who ever lived. Your girlfriend Sarah has contributed her genetic material to advance science beyond your imagination. Marcus picked up Hope in his arms. She was light as a feather, too thin and weak. You're sick monsters, he shouted at the speakers. We're visionaries, Dr. Voss replied. Sarah's DNA was special. We've created dozens of copies of her, each one improved and perfected. Hope is just one of our successes. She's not a thing. Marcus yelled. She's a person. She's property. And so are you now. You see, Mr. Sterling, we've been watching you for years. Your genetic profile is also quite special. We've been waiting for the right time to add you to our collection. The voice laughed coldly. The phone calls were bait. We knew you would come. Now you're here, and you'll never leave. Welcome to your new home, Mr. Sterling. Welcome to the future. James and his men formed a circle around Marcus and Hope. Armed guards were coming from all directions. The trap was closing around them. But Marcus Sterling hadn't become a billionaire by giving up when things got tough. And he wasn't going to start now. James, he said quietly, how do we get to that special room downstairs? This way, James shouted over the blaring alarms. He had spotted an emergency exit that led to a lower level. The guards were closing in fast, their heavy boots echoing through the hallways. Marcus held Hope tightly as they ran. She was barely conscious, her head resting against his shoulder. Stay with me, sweetheart, he whispered. We're almost out of here. James kicked open the emergency door and they rushed down a narrow staircase. The air got colder with each step. Behind them, they could hear the guard shouting orders and searching the laboratory. Sir, we should head for the exit, one of Marcus's men said. We can get the girl to a hospital. No, Marcus said firmly. Hope said Sarah is down here. I'm not leaving without her. The staircase ended at a heavy steel door marked Level B3, authorized personnel only. James worked quickly on the electronic lock while the others watched for guards. When the door opened, Marcus couldn't believe what he saw. This level was different from the laboratory upstairs. It looked like a luxury hospital wing. Clean white, walls, expensive furniture, and soft lighting. But it was still a prison. They walked down a carpeted hallway past several rooms with one-way glass windows. Marcus looked through the first window and saw a room designed like a child's bedroom. Toys covered the floor and pictures of cartoon characters hung on the walls, but thick bars covered the windows. They're keeping people in fake homes, James said quietly. At the end of the hallway, they found a room that was different from the others. Through the window, Marcus could see medical equipment surrounding a single bed. In that bed lay a woman with long brown hair. Marcus's heart stopped beating for a moment. Even after 23 years, even through the glass, he knew that face. Sarah, he whispered. James shot the lock off the door and they rushed inside. Sarah lay connected to machines that monitored her breathing and heartbeat. Her eyes were closed, but she looked peaceful. She hadn't aged a day since Marcus last saw her. They've kept her in some kind of medical sleep, James said, checking the machines. According to these readings, she's been unconscious for over 20 years. Marcus sat down beside Sarah's bed, still holding Hope. Sarah, it's me. It's Marcus. I found you. I finally found you. Sarah's eyes moved under her closed eyelids as if she was dreaming. One of the machines began beeping faster. Hope stirred in Marcus's arms. Dad, she can hear you. She's been waiting for you to come. How do you know? Marcus asked. Because her memories are inside me, Hope said weakly. All her love for you, all her dreams about the life you were going to have together. That's why I knew to call you. That's why I knew about the tree and the ring and all your secrets. Marcus felt tears running down his face. This brave girl had been created from the woman he loved, and now she was dying in his arms. The sound, of boots in the hallway interrupted them. Dr. Voss appeared in the doorway with 6 armed guards. She was a tall woman with cold gray eyes and silver hair. She wore a white lab coat over an expensive black dress. "How touching," Dr. Voss said with a cruel smile. "A family reunion. Though I should point out that Hope isn't really your daughter, Mr. Sterling. She's our creation, our property." "She's a human being," Marcus said angrily. "You can't own people. Can I?" Dr. Voss walked into the room like she owned everything in it. "I've been creating perfect people for 20 years. Rich clients pay me millions for custom-made children with the exact traits they want. Smart children, beautiful children, talented children, all based on the DNA of exceptional people like Sarah." She gestured toward Sarah's sleeping form. "Your girlfriend was special, Mr. Sterling. Brilliant mind, perfect health, unusual genetic markers. We've used her DNA to create 47 successful clones. Hope was one of our best." "Was?" Marcus asked. "Oh yes, she's dying. The cloning process isn't perfect yet. Most of our subjects only live 20 to 25 years before their bodies break down. Hope is experiencing organ failure. She has perhaps hours left." Marcus held Hope closer. She was burning with fever now. "You're monsters." "We're pioneers," Dr. Voss said. "And now we have you. Your DNA combined with Sarah's will create even better subjects. Imagine children with your business genius and her medical brilliance. Our clients will pay anything for such perfection." James stepped forward with his gun drawn. "We're leaving, all of us." Dr. Voss laughed. "I don't think so. You're surrounded. My guards have orders to take you alive, but they will shoot if necessary." "Then we have a problem," a new voice said from behind Dr. Voss. Everyone turned to see Detective Rodriguez standing in the doorway. But he wasn't alone. Behind him were a dozen FBI agents in full tactical gear. "Rodriguez?" Dr. Voss looked shocked. "How did you find us?" "I've been watching this place for 23 years, the old detective said. "Waiting for proof of what you were doing. When Mr. Sterling contacted me, I knew it was time to call in the federal authorities." The FBI agents quickly surrounded Dr. Voss and her guards. "Dr. Elena Voss, you're under arrest for kidnapping, human trafficking, and illegal genetic experimentation." As the handcuffs clicked around Dr. Voss's wrists, she looked at Marcus with hatred. "You think you've won? There are others like me, other facilities. This is bigger than just one laboratory." "Then we'll find them all," Marcus said. With the immediate danger over, Marcus faced the hardest choice of his life. Hope was dying in his arms and Sarah lay unconscious on the hospital bed. The FBI medical team said they could only save one of them. Hope needed immediate surgery, but moving Sarah might kill her after 23 years in artificial sleep. Save Hope, Marcus decided without hesitation. She's young. She has a whole life ahead of her. Dad. No, Hope whispered. Save Sarah. She's the real one. I'm just a copy. You're not a copy, Marcus said firmly. You're my daughter. You called me when you were scared. You trusted me to save you. That makes you real. But as the medical team prepared to move Hope, something amazing happened. Sarah's eyes slowly opened for the first time in 23 years. She looked around the room until her gaze found Marcus. Marcus, she said in a voice rusty from decades of silence. You came for me. I never stopped looking, Marcus said, tears streaming down his face. Sarah turned her head and saw Hope. Is this? She's our daughter, Marcus said. In every way that matters. The FBI medical team worked miracles that night. They saved both Sarah and Hope, rushing them to the best hospital in Colorado. It took months of treatment, but both women recovered. 6 months later, Marcus stood in his penthouse office, but he wasn't alone. Sarah was reading medical journals at his desk, preparing to return to her career as a doctor. Hope was sitting by the window, healthy and strong, learning about business from the man she called Dad. Marcus had used his wealth and influence to shut down 3 more illegal cloning facilities around the world. Dr. Voss was in prison for life. The other clones were rescued and given new identities and normal lives. "Dad," Hope said one evening, "do you ever regret that night? The phone call that changed everything?" Marcus looked at his strange, wonderful family. A woman he thought he'd lost forever and a daughter who shouldn't exist but did. They had come to him through impossible circumstances, but they were real and they were his. "Never," Marcus said. "That phone call brought me home." Outside the window, the city sparkled with lights. But inside the penthouse, Marcus Sterling finally had everything that money couldn't buy. He had love, and he had family, and he had learned that being a father was the greatest success of his life.